humbly bowing down before the Almighty Lord Sri Vishnu, the Lord of the three worlds, I recite maxims of the science of political ethics, Neeti, selected from the various sutras. That man who by the study of these maxims from the sutras acquires a knowledge of the most celebrated principles of duty, and understands what ought and what ought not to be followed, and what is good and what is bad, is most excellent. Therefore, with an eye to the public good, I shall speak that which, when understood, will lead to an understanding of things in their proper perspective. Even a pundit comes to grief by giving instruction to a foolish disciple, by maintaining a wicked wife, and by excessive familiarity with the miserable. A wicked wife, a false friend, a saucy servant, and living in a house with a serpent in it are nothing but death. One should save his money against hard times, save his wife at the sacrifice of his riches, but invariably one should save his soul even at the sacrifice of his wife and riches. Save your wealth against future calamity. Do not say, what fear has a rich man of calamity? When riches begin to forsake one, even the accumulated stock dwindles away. Do not inhabit a country where you are not respected, cannot earn your livelihood, have no friends, or cannot acquire knowledge. Do not stay for a single day where there are not these 5 persons: a wealthy man, a Brahmana well versed in Vedic lore, a king, a river, and a physician. Wise men should never go into a country where there are no means of earning one's livelihood, where the people have no dread of anybody, have no sense of shame, no intelligence, or a charitable disposition. Test a servant while in the discharge of his duty, a relative in difficulty, a friend in adversity, and a wife in misfortune. He is a true friend who does not forsake us in time of need, misfortune, famine, or war, in a king's court, or at the crematorium, smasana. He who gives up what is imperishable for that which perishable, loses that which is imperishable, and doubtlessly loses that which is perishable also. A wise man should marry a virgin of a respectable family even if she is deformed. He should not marry one of a low-class family, through beauty. Marriage in a family of equal status is preferable. Do not put your trust in rivers, men who carry weapons, beasts with claws or horns, women, and members of a royal family. Even from poison extract nectar, wash and take back gold if it has fallen in filth, receive the highest knowledge, Krishna consciousness, from a low-born person. So also a girl possessing virtuous qualities, Sri Ratna, even if she be born in a disreputable family. Women have hunger twofold, shyness fourfold, daring sixfold, and lust eightfold as compared to men.
Untruthfulness, rashness, guile, stupidity, avarice, uncleanliness and cruelty are a woman's 7 natural flaws. To have ability for eating when dishes are ready at hand, to be robust and virile in the company of one's religiously wedded wife, and to have a mind for making charity when one is prosperous are the fruits of no ordinary austerities. He whose son is obedient to him, whose wife's conduct is in accordance with his wishes, and who is content with his riches, has his heaven here on earth. They alone are sons who are devoted to their father. He is a father who supports his sons. He is a friend in whom we can confide, and she only is a wife in whose company the husband feels contented and peaceful. Avoid him who talks sweetly before you but tries to ruin you behind your back, for he is like a pitcher of poison with milk on top. Do not put your trust in a bad companion nor even trust an ordinary friend, for if he should get angry with you, he may bring all your secrets to light. Do not reveal what you have thought upon doing, but by wise counsel keep it secret, being determined to carry it into execution. Foolishness is indeed painful, and verily so is youth, but more painful by far than either is being obliged in another person's house. There does not exist a ruby in every mountain, nor a pearl in the head of every elephant, neither are the sadhus to be found everywhere, nor sandal trees in every forest. Wise men should always bring up their sons in various moral ways, for children who have knowledge of Niti Sastra and are well behaved become a glory to their family. Those parents who do not educate their sons are their enemies, for as is a crane among swans, so are ignorant sons in a public assembly. Many a bad habit is developed through overindulgence, and many a good one by chastisement. Therefore beat your son as well as your pupil, never indulge them. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Let not a single day pass without your learning a verse, half a verse, or a fourth of it, or even one letter of it, nor without attending to charity, study and other pious activity. separation from the wife, disgrace from one's own people, an enemy saved in battle, service to a wicked king, poverty, and a mismanaged assembly. These 6 kinds of evils, if afflicting a person, burn him even without fire. Trees on a river bank, a woman in another man's house, and kings without counselors go without doubt to swift destruction. A Brahmana's strength is in his learning, a king's strength is in his army, a Vaishya's strength is in his wealth, and a Shudra's strength is in his attitude of service. The prostitute has to forsake a man who has no money, the subject a king that cannot defend him, the birds in a tree that bears no fruit, and the guests in a house after they have finished their meals. Brahmanas quit their patrons after receiving alms from them, scholars leave their teachers after receiving education from them, and animals desert a forest that has been burned down. He who befriends a man whose conduct is vicious, whose vision impure, and who is notoriously crooked, is rapidly ruined. Friendships between equals flourishes. Service under a king is respectable. It is good to be business-minded in public dealings, and a handsome lady is safe in her own home. In this world, whose family is there without blemish? Who is free from sickness and grief? Who is forever happy? A man's descent may be discerned by his conduct, his country by his pronunciation of language, his friendship by his warmth and glow, and his capacity to eat by his body. Give your daughter in marriage to a good family, engage your son in learning, see that your enemy comes to grief, and engage your friends in dharma, Krishna consciousness. Of a rascal and a serpent, the serpent is the better of the two, for he strikes only at the time he is destined to kill, while the former at every step. Therefore kings gather round themselves men of good families, for they never forsake them either at the beginning, the middle or the end. At the time of the pralaya, universal destruction, the oceans are to exceed their limits and seek to change, but the saintly man never changes. Do not keep company with a fool, for as we can see he is a two-legged beast. Like an unseen thorn he pierces the heart with his sharp words. Though men be endowed with beauty and youth and born in noble families, Yet without education they are like the palasa flower which is void of sweet fragrance. The beauty of the cuckoo is in its notes, that of a woman in her unalloyed devotion to her husband, that of an ugly person in his scholarship, and that of an ascetic in his forgiveness. Give up a member to save a family to save a village to save a country, and a country to save yourself. There is no poverty for the industrious. Sin does not attach itself to the person practicing japa, chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Those who are absorbed in wanam, silent contemplation of the Lord, have no quarrel with others. They are fearless who remain always alert. What is too heavy for the strong, and what place is too distant for those who put forth effort? What country is foreign to a man of true learning? Who can be inimical to one who speaks pleasingly? As a whole forest becomes fragrant by the existence of a single tree with sweet-smelling blossoms in it, so a family becomes famous by the birth of a virtuous son. As a single withered tree, if set aflame, causes a whole forest to burn, so does a rascal son destroy a whole family. As night looks delightful when the moon shines, so is a family gladdened by even one learned and virtuous son. What is the use of having many sons if they cause grief and vexation? It is better to have only one son from whom the whole family can derive support and peacefulness. Fondle a son until he is 5 years of age, and use the stick for another 10 years, but when he has attained his 16th year treat him as a friend. He who runs away from a fearful calamity, a foreign invasion, a terrible famine, and the companionship of wicked men is safe. He who has not acquired one of the following, religious merit, dharma, wealth, artha, satisfaction of desires, kama, or liberation, moksha, is repeatedly born to die. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, comes of her own accord where fools are not respected, grain is well stored up, and the husband and wife do not quarrel. These 5, the lifespan, the type of work, wealth, learning and the time of one's death are determined while one is in the womb. Offspring, friends and relatives flee from a devotee of the Lord, yet those who follow him bring merit to their families through their devotion. Fish, tortoises, and birds bring up their young by means of sight, attention and touch, so do saintly men afford protection to their associates by the same means. As long as your body is healthy and under control and death is distant, try to save your soul. When death is imminent, what can you do? Learning is like a cow of desire. It, like her, yields in all seasons. Like a mother, it feeds you on your journey. Therefore learning is a hidden treasure. A single son endowed with good qualities is far better than 100, devoid of them. For the moon, though one, dispels the darkness, which the stars, though numerous, cannot. A stillborn son is superior to a foolish son endowed with a long life. The first causes grief for but a moment, while the latter like a blazing fire consumes his parents in grief for life. Residing in a small village devoid of proper living facilities, serving a person born of a low family, unwholesome food, a frowning wife, a foolish son, and a widowed daughter burn the body without fire. What good is a cow that neither gives milk nor conceives? Similarly, what is the value of the birth of a son if he becomes neither learned nor a pure devotee of the Lord? When one is consumed by the sorrows of life, three things give him relief: offspring, a wife, and the company of the Lord's devotees. Kings speak for once, men of learning once, and the daughter is given in marriage once. All these things happen once and only once. Religious austerities should be practiced alone, study by two, and singing by three. A journey should be undertaken by four, agriculture by five, and war by many together. She is a true wife who is clean, soucy, expert, chaste, pleasing to the husband, and truthful. The house of a childless person is a void, all directions are void to one who has no relatives. The heart of a fool is also void, but to a poverty-stricken man all is void. Scriptural lessons not put into practice are poison. A meal is poison to him who suffers from indigestion. A social gathering is poison to a poverty-stricken person, and a young wife is poison to an aged man. That man, who is without religion and mercy, should be rejected. A guru without spiritual knowledge should be rejected. The wife with an offensive face should be given up, and so should relatives who are without affection. Constant travel brings old age upon a man. A horse becomes old by being constantly tied up, Lack of sexual contact with her husband brings old age upon a woman, and garments become old, through being left in the sun. Consider again and again the following: the right time, the right friends, the right place, the right means of income, the right ways of spending, and from whom you derive your power. For the twice-born, the fire, Agni, is a representative of God. The Supreme Lord resides in the heart of his devotees. Those of average intelligence, Alpabhuti or Kanista Adhikari, see God only in his Srimurti, but those of broad vision see the Supreme Lord everywhere. Agni is the worshipable person for the twice-born, the Brahmana for the other castes, the husband for the wife, and the guest who comes for food at the midday meal for all. As gold is tested in 4 ways by rubbing, cutting, heating and beating, so a man should be tested by these 4 things: his renunciation, his conduct, his qualities and his actions. A thing may be dreaded as long as it has not overtaken you, but once it has come upon you, try to get rid of it without hesitation. Though persons be born from the same womb and under the same stars, they do not become alike in disposition as the 1,000 fruits of the Badari tree. He whose hands are clean does not like to hold an office. He who desires nothing cares not for bodily decorations. He who is only partially educated cannot speak agreeably, and he who speaks out plainly cannot be a deceiver. The learned are envied by the foolish, rich men by the poor, chaste women by adulteresses, and beautiful ladies by ugly ones. Indolent application ruins study. Money is lost when entrusted to others. A farmer who sows his seed sparsely is ruined, and an army is lost for want of a commander. Learning is retained through putting into practice. Family prestige is maintained through good behavior. A respectable person is recognized by his excellent qualities, and anger is seen in the eyes. Religion is preserved by wealth, knowledge by diligent practice, a king by conciliatory words, and a home by a dutiful housewife. Those who blaspheme Vedic wisdom, who ridicule the lifestyle recommended in the sutras, and who deride men of peaceful temperament, come to grief unnecessarily. Charity puts an end to poverty, righteous conduct to misery, discretion to ignorance, and scrutiny to fear. There is no disease so destructive as lust, no animal-like infatuation, no fire like wrath, and no happiness like spiritual knowledge. A man is born alone and dies alone, and he experiences the good and bad consequences of his karma alone, and he goes alone to hell or the supreme abode. Heaven is but a straw to him who knows spiritual life, Krishna consciousness, so is life to a valiant man, a woman to him who has subdued his senses, and the universe to him who is without attachment for the world. Learning is a friend on the journey, a wife in the house, medicine in sickness, and religious merit is the only friend after death. Rain, which falls upon the sea is useless, so is food for one who is satiated, in vain is a gift for one who is wealthy, and a burning lamp during the daytime is useless. There is no water like rainwater, no strength like one's own, no light like that of the eyes, and no wealth more dear than food grain. The poor wish for wealth, animals for the faculty of speech, men wish for heaven, and godly persons for liberation. The earth is supported by the power of truth, it is the power of truth that makes the sun shine and the winds blow, indeed all things rest upon truth. The goddess of wealth is unsteady, Chanchula, and so is the life breath. The duration of life is uncertain, and the place of habitation is uncertain, but in all this inconsistent world religious merit alone is immovable. Among men, the barber is cunning, among birds the crow, among beasts the jackal, and among women, the Malin, flower girl. These five are your fathers: he who gave you birth, girdled you with sacred thread, teaches you, provides you with food, and protects you from fearful situations. These five should be considered as mothers: the king's wife, the preceptor's wife, the friend's wife, your wife's mother, aunt, your own mother. By means of hearing one understands Dharma, malignity vanishes, knowledge is acquired, and liberation from material bondage is gained. Among birds the crow is vile, among beasts the dog, the ascetic whose sins is abominable, but he who blasphemes others is the worst chandala. brass is polished by ashes, copper is cleaned by tamarind, a woman by her menses, and a river by its flow. The king, the Brahmana, and the ascetic yogi who go abroad are respected, but the woman who wanders is utterly ruined. He who has wealth has friends. He who is wealthy has relatives. The rich one alone is called a man, and the affluent alone are respected as pandits. As is the desire of providence, so functions one's intellect. One's activities are also controlled by providence, and by the will of providence, one is surrounded by helpers. Time perfects all living beings as well as kills them. It alone is awake when all others are asleep. Time is insurmountable. Those born blind cannot see, similarly blind are those in the grip of lust. Proud men have no perception of evil, and those bent on acquiring riches see no sin in their actions. The spirit soul goes through his own course of karma, and he himself suffers the good and bad results thereby accrued. By his own actions he entangles himself in samsara, and by his own efforts he extricates himself. The king is obliged to accept the sins of his subjects. The Purohit priest suffers for those of the king, a husband suffers for those of his wife, and the guru suffers for those of his pupils. A father who is a chronic debtor, an adulterous mother, a beautiful wife, and an unlearned son are enemies in one's own home. Conciliate a covetous man by means of a gift, an obstinate man with folded hands and salutation, a fool by humoring him, and a learned man by truthful words. It is better to be without a kingdom than to rule over a petty one, better to be without a friend than to befriend a rascal, better to be without a disciple than to have a stupid one, and better to be without a wife than to have a bad one. How can people be made happy in a petty kingdom? What peace can we expect from a rascal friend? What happiness can we have at home in the company of a bad wife? How can renown be gained by instructing an unworthy disciple? Learn one thing from a lion, 1 from a crane, 4 from a cock, 5 from a crow, 6 from a dog, and 3 from an ass. The one excellent thing that can be learned from a lion is that whatever a man intends doing should be done by him with a wholehearted and strenuous effort. The wise man should restrain his senses like the crane and accomplish his purpose with due knowledge of his place, time and ability. To wake at the proper time, to take a bold stand and fight, to make a fair division of property among relations, and to earn one's own bread by personal exertion are the 4 excellent things to be learned from a cock. Union in privacy with one's wife, boldness, storing away useful items, watchfulness, and not easily trusting others. These 5 things are to be learned from a crow. Contentment with little or nothing to eat. Although one may have a great appetite, to awaken instantly although one may be in a deep slumber, unflinching devotion to the master, and bravery, these 6 qualities should be learned from the dog. Although an ass is tired, he continues to carry his burden, he is unmindful of cold and heat, and he is always contented. These 3 things should be learned from the ass. He who shall practice these 20 virtues shall become invincible in all his undertakings.